And now he says he's going to tell us what's going on. This is very interesting here. شذاذها الذي الطريق يقطع على جميع السالكين الطمع. Shidhav was he was a brigand from Bani Dabbah. And so the Arabs, they use him as أقطع من شذاذ. He's like a proverb. If you want to say somebody's a really bad robber, then they say أقطع من شذاذ. You know, he's more of a brigand than even Shidhav. So he's saying شذاذها, this brigand, that يقطع الطريق, that means like a highway robber. يقطع الطريق, severs the road. على جميع السالكين, on all those people trying to get to their Lord, this brigand that's going to stop you on the road and try to rob you of your rewards with Allah is طمع, covetousness. So we go back to this source disease of desire, right? The Arif Billah, Abu Abbas al-Mursi said one day, أردت أن أشتري شيئا ممن يعرفني فقلت لعله يحابيني فنوديت السلامة في الدين بترك الطمع في المخلوقين. He said Abu Abbas al-Mursi was once in the marketplace and he was going to buy something and he saw somebody he knew, and he was a very righteous man. He was known for scholarship and his spirituality, and so he thought, if I go to that person, he'll say, oh, I'll give you a deal because he's a religious person. And he said he heard a call, nuditu. He got a call, like a hatif. And the hatif told him that as-salama fi din, right? To be sound in your deen, bi tarka tam'a fi al-makhluqeen, is not to have desire for created things. So that is how you have a sound deen, is to lose that tam'a in other people, no matter what. And that's what he's warning us against, because again, if you look at these previous diseases, riya, sum'a, right, all these things, tam'a. Sum'a is tam'a, and riya is tam'a. You think you're going to get something from them, right? You think that you're going to get something from them. And the tam'a, the reason for tam'a, according to Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, radiyallahu anhu, is ghafla. You forget that you become heedless that Allah is nafi' and dar. Human beings don't have anything to benefit you. So there's a ghafla that comes on the heart, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us about that very often in the Quran. Right? And one of the verses is a reminder, Inna Allahu wa razaq. Allah, He is the razaq. He's the one that provides for you. Another one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in yamsiska Allahu bidurran fala kashifa lahu. Right? La huwa subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah gives you a harm, there's nobody that can remove that harm except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the famous hadith, when the Prophet ﷺ saw Ibn Abbas, he said, Ya ghulam, right? He called Ibn Abbas, he said, I'm going to teach you some words. Amongst what he taught him was that if all of the creation got together to harm you, and Allah didn't decree it for you, they couldn't do it. And if all of creation got together to prevent some harm getting to you, they couldn't prevent it. Right? It's over. The ink has been lifted, the pens are dry. Right? The pens have been lifted and the ink is dry. It's over. So everything that's going to happen to you, you have to recognize it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you should desire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not what people have. And then like, give me an example. People wish you ill, how though? I mean, they say bad things against you? Well, if you're straight with Allah, then their prayer is going to be of no benefit. If you're oppressing them, then you should have fear, because the Prophet ﷺ said, fear the prayer of the oppressor. If you're not an oppressor, you don't have any fear of their prayer. If you're not oppressing them or anybody else, then you shouldn't have any fear, because somebody who's making a prayer against you, that's dhulm against you. And it'll just go back to them. It doesn't go back to you, it'll go back to them. And that's their business. Somebody making a prayer against you, that's their business. Allah didn't tell us to make prayers against people unless they're oppressors. لا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. There's no aggression except against oppressors. And he said, الدعاء سلاح المؤمن. The prayer is the weapon of the mu'min. That's the only weapon that a lot of mu'mineen have, right? There's a lot of places where the mu'mineen are completely bereft of any ability to defend themselves. All they have is dua, and dua is not to say that all they have, because it's a lot. Dua is very powerful. And Allah answers the prayers of those who call on Him sincerely. So, I wouldn't worry about people doing that unless they have justifiable reason, and then you should ask them to forgive you if something was done that warrants that. Ghafla is heedlessness. And what Sidi Ahmed Zaruq said is the reason for tam'a is ghafla, that you're heedless of the way creation really works. If you think somebody can benefit you, it's a ghafla. You're forgetting. It's just like somebody, you say, somebody was sick and you say, how are you? And they say, I'm doing great. I took this incredible medicine. It was really beneficial and I feel great. And they forget. It's a ghafla. They're a mu'min, but they're attributing something that shouldn't be attributed to the medicine. They say, Alhamdulillah, shafani Allah. Allah cured me. I took some medicine, inshallah Allah put a cure in it for me. He cured me through it. But to think that the medicine, and people do that, it's a ghafla. And if you remind them and say, no, Allah cured you, oh, astaghfirullah, sahih, of course, right? That's what people say. So human beings go into ghafla. They go into this forgetfulness that they don't remember how things really work. And one of their ghaflas is that people can harm and benefit you. That's a ghafla. Because they can't. There's no way they can harm or benefit you unless Allah wants it. And especially, obviously when you're dealing with armies and military formation, you have to be very realistic, because you're in the realm of asbab. But when you're dealing with rizq and ibadah and riya and tama' and sum'a and these diseases, it's all just waham. There's no foundation for it. Well, ghafla is it's a disease. Ghafla is a disease of the heart. It's a bad one. Some will say, actually, Imam al-Junayd said, the only disease is ghafla. He actually said that is the disease. He said that he never saw any wrong action except it was a result of ghafla. Any wrong action. In other words, if you're really in a state of awareness of Allah, there's no way you can do wrong. So he actually felt that it was the source disease. What? Mughaffal means a simpleton. Mughaffal. Somebody who's easy to fool. So ghafla is a state where you're being fooled. The ghafil is fooling himself by not remembering how things really are. So it's a careless heedlessness, stupidity. It's a type of stupidity, only it can be temporary. It's not permanent. And then he says, فَهُوَ مَجَرَّةٌ لِكُلِّ ضَيْرِ كَغِيبَةٍ وَكَبَنَاتِ غَيْرِ. He says, this tam'a, really, it is the cause of every harm, like ghiba. Why are you talking bad about somebody? What's the benefit? There's some tam'a there. There's something. Why do you want to speak bad about somebody to somebody else? What is it that you want? You want that other person to have a bad opinion of that person that you're speaking bad about? That's tam'a. You're desiring something. So there's some desire, because there's no reason to do it unless you think you're deriving something out of it, right? And banati ghayri is a word for the lying. So people who lie also. You lie because people want benefit. لو سيل ما حرفته قال اكتساب وشغل قلب في الصلاة والثناء مينا ولا بد أن يداهنا. It will also preoccupy your prayer preoccupy your heart during the prayer. Right? Preoccupation of the heart during one's prayer. And insincere praise of others. Tama' will cause you to say things about people you don't believe. Like the salesman. You look great in that. And he just wants to sell it. He could care less. But he's not going to tell you it's horrible, you look terrible, you know. He's going to say, you look really good in that. Right? I bought a cheap pair of glasses once that they were ugly, but they were inexpensive, and I got them, and the person said to me, oh, those are really nice. I said, I think they're really terrible, but, you know, it's good price. And they said to me, yeah, you're right. Right? It's just fun. Why are they saying that? Because they want me to buy the glasses, come back another time, whatever. Have a nice day. You know. Ching, ching. And you can see in sales, you learn that, right? People that are salespeople, they know this better than anybody else. It's all about tama'. When the guy walks through the door, there's tama'. You want to sell something, you have tama'. And that tama' makes you do certain things that you wouldn't normally do. Like there's people you'll talk to and be nice to that you wouldn't give the time of day if you saw them in normal circumstances, right? Because there's tama' there. And that's why التاجر الصادق مع الشهداء. The truthful merchant is with the martyrs on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's a hadith. The truthful merchant is with the martyrs, which means he doesn't have tama' in his heart. Now how do you say, how can you be a merchant and not have tama'? Because he sees everything coming from Allah. If Allah brings him a customer, it's Allah bringing His provision to him. If he doesn't buy anything, Allah didn't decree it. And he can just be a human being. He doesn't have to lie. He doesn't have to tell him how wonderful everything is. He can just be a human being. One of the things in traditional cultures, and in some places, like some people in Fes will still do this. In traditional cultures, when you went into the marketplace, they had aswaq, right? These were like rows of hanut, stores. Now, in America, the dumbest thing that you can do in marketing is what? Build a place next to a place where they're selling the same thing. I mean, anybody, right? Anybody been to business school? You always do your marketing analyses, right? And you find out, is there a need for this thing? Well, why would in traditional societies, why would they put them all in the same place? And so they call it suq al-attarin, right? They'll call it suq al, whatever they're selling. And this is, you go to Damascus, right? Everybody knows where the suq of the clothes, where they all are. The suq of the iskafiyin, where they sell the shoes. Right? Everybody knows where to go. They're all sitting there. Not only do they all sit there together, but traditionally, they usually prayed together. They were friends. They often were in guilds together. And actually apprenticed people, and they were often attended the same circles, had the same shaykhs. They were best friends. Seriously. What would happen is, if this guy who had the first store, he sold enough for the day, he would shut down and go back to home or go to the masjid and let his other brothers get what they needed. Now, I'm not making this up. It's hard to believe that there were actually people like this on the planet. But it's really true. And there's still a few left. I mean, they're really old usually, and their sons think they're idiots. Right? Because they've been to business school and have their MBAs now. Right? No, seriously. There's all these books, How to Swim Amongst the Sharks. Right? No, there's business books in this culture teaching you how. They have an ad in, I think it was Time or U.S. News and World Report. It shows this guy looking in the mirror, a young guy looking in the mirror. He's in like a hotel, and it says he's going to eat the competition for breakfast. And then down below, written on the window, and then down below it says, and then he's going to take his kids to Marine World. And it's like an ad for a hotel. But the point is, that is American culture. And that's something, yeah, we really did it to them, didn't we? We wiped out the competition. That is exactly how, and that is what this country is all about, competitive capitalism. Wipe out the competition, right?